So this morning we've heard a great deal about what a challenge finding housing is for regional businesses. I wanted to start with you, Minister. What do you think is the single most important step in addressing this problem?
Well, I think the single most important step is to firstly set up the Office of Regional Housing, which we've done, to engage with councils and local communities about providing specific assistance to regional communities for housing. The second thing we have to do is build houses for government employees. Quite frequently we have police, nurses, doctors and other government staff going out to regional communities. So we need to build housing for our own needs. And thirdly, we need to look very closely at the things that bring land and supply to market, which is typically civil infrastructure, sewerage pipes and other enabling infrastructure.
And how long do you think it could be or will be before we start to really see those kick into gear?
Well, the difficulty with housing is we basically have a zero rental vacancy rate in nearly every regional community that I've been in. And so we've been left a crisis. That crisis is across the country. And housing is not something you can click your fingers and produce overnight. So we really do need to, as I said before, engage with local communities, see where there's land that we can bring to market by providing civil infrastructure, and then, as quickly as we can, put houses on that land.
Mm-hmm. How significant a role do you think private enterprise has to play in addressing the problem, and how much should government be contributing?
Well, I think if private enterprise was the answer alone, we wouldn't have a rental, crisis, because the market should respond in those circumstances. But clearly, that hasn't happened. So government has to partner with councils and I think with major employers to be able to provide regional housing options. Sometimes that's worker housing, sometimes that's housing for the community through community housing providers, and sometimes it's public housing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Warwick, I'll move across to you. What do you think are the biggest opportunities for regional tourism in South Australia?
Yeah, look, I think we've got amazing wine regions. Everyone knows that. We've also got natural resources. We can see that right here in Port Lincoln. I think the challenge is to keep those areas pristine, but also provide the opportunity for international and interstate tourism to really immerse themselves and enjoy those environments. I think we need to target the Epicurean and the ecological tourist globally. So I think there's a real opportunity for us to take the high ground with regards to sustainability and regenerative tourism, and to ensure that we can do that where tourists have the opportunity to stay within a vineyard, looking out over the coastline and immerse themselves in the beauty that we have to offer.
And I guess conversely to that, as a business owner, what do you think the major roadblocks are?
I think the biggest roadblocks, frankly, is a lack of luxury tourism in exactly those places. I come from the Clare Valley. It's highly dependent on the B&Bs, and they're beautiful to stay in. But a lot of the international interstate tourists choose a holiday destination on the basis of the quality of the resort, not just what you can do in that destination. And so I think we do need to be investing in incredibly high quality tourism resorts and accommodation. Again, let's be world standard on sustainability and regenerative tourism. We don't have to choose between tourism and ecology, if indeed we set a target to be world standard in both.
Do you think, just lastly on that, there's anything the government can do to push that along?
Yeah, look, I think I still think there's a bit of confusion with respect to local government and state planning in terms of what is allowable, what's okay to operate. It's not easy to get approvals for accommodation resorts in wine regions. It's a primary production region. Clearly, we have to make sure that we're not robbing vineyard space for resorts, and there's a whole balancing item as well with regards to, as you were discussing. There's also the staff that need to work in those accommodations. So I think one of the things we need to be looking at is perhaps saying, look, if you're going to build a resort that's going to employ X number of people, also plan to house those people and do so in a manner which is conducive to the environment, and also just make sure that we are setting the high standards in terms of that sustainability and the environmental issues.
And Parry, I'll move down to you. I understand you've just got a short statement to read about the contribution of Aboriginal businesses.
Yeah, just to help sets the scene.
Yeah.
Just talk about the other end of tourism. I'm talking about this end. So this goes like this. Aboriginal people are good at all things cultural, and they are good at show and tell. Their culture and their stories come from the heart and are emotionally attached to culture, customs and traditions. They know their country, what's good to eat and what's not. They know their special places they show and tell because it's not sacred and it's not secret in accordance to Aboriginal law. They understand nature, plants and animals. They can teach us and by demonstration show us how to make a boomerang and make it fly. And make spears and wooden containers and artefacts. Aboriginal people are great with their hands and make things such as jewellery, basket weaving, etc., etc. And they are very good with natural materials such as ochre, charcoal, paints that are used for dancing and storytelling. That sets the scene for a direct individual experience between an Aboriginal storyteller and a tourist who wants to come and experience that other aspect of life.